As I was just saying, that last part was completely optional. Jesus fuck, how did I never look at... I think it's probably just because it was like 4 parts, and these look exactly the same almost, aside from this is overlapping that one, it looks like, and this one's over... Anyway, let's fucking get on with our lives. Automated robotic assembly line techniques. Huh. What's that? Some sort of comic book? Geez, I guess boys really like that stuff, huh? No, you're thinking of a different sort of robot. This book is talking about automated machinery that's used to build things like cars. What's that one called? It sounds Foundations of DNA and Genetic Engineering. By the way, this is part 48. Communication and Computer Sciences, huh? That's a pretty generic title. To be honest, it's so vague I don't really know what it might be about. It's a brand new light bulb. Looks like it's a pretty high wattage one, too. Fuck. Alright. Let's see any other books I might have missed. Principles of Monkey... So I got every other fucking book over here and thing except for these ones. Some bullshit. Alright. Let's fucking finish this part. Alright, so there are 3 lights in here. Gonna change these bulbs. Now they should. Shield Rake 5. Awesome, it worked! Way to go, Junpei. Good job, buddy. There's something projecting on the bottom. These letters, they seem familiar. Shield Rake 5. Shield Rake. Junpei read the text aloud. I think I saw the rest of this collection somewhere. Yeah, I think it was somewhere around here. Let's go take a look. Okay. Seven and Clover walked off, leaving Junpei and Snake behind. Have you heard of him? Shieldrake, I mean. Junpei grinned. Yeah, Lotus told me about him. There's a British biochemist named Sheldrake. He has a rather interesting theory. The theory of morphogenetic fields, which relies on the theory of morphic resonance. Really? From Lotus, huh? Well, Clover also said something to me about that stuff. She did? Yeah. What was it? The ability to access a morphogenetic field is affected by a couple of things. First is epiphany, and the other is danger. I keep clicking on the middle part. That girl. I told her not to tell anyone. You did? Why? Junpei's eyes narrowed. Look, man, I didn't mean to push it because we were in a hurry, but I'm kind of sick of this. How about you just tell me, okay? Tell you what? You don't give me that. About the experiment. Snake's shoulders slumped, and he shook his head slowly. He'd finally given up. Very well. Fine. I'll tell you everything. But not here. Let's move to the top floor. Junpei nodded. With that, they climbed the stairs to the top floor. Snake was silent for a moment after they arrived, then finally crossed his arms and spoke. I suppose I might as well start by telling you why I kept quiet, and why I made sure Clover did as well. To be honest, the explanation is quite simple. Zero told me not to. I had little choice. He didn't walk up and tell me, of course. He gave me the message engraved on a card. Snake reached into his sleeve and pulled out a small, stiff piece of paper. It looked a good deal like the one he'd shown everyone out on the central staircase. So you had 2 cards. No, only 1. Huh? What do you mean? I thought that card just had some rules for the nonary game on it. Yes, it did. And those were rules I read you. However, they were not the only things on the card. There was something I didn't read. Well, perhaps I should say there was something I couldn't read. And that was... Tell no one of the events that took place 9 years ago. Tell, and I activate your sister's detonator. Oh. Well, Snake nodded. Well, what about Clover? Did she get a message from Zero too? I don't believe she did. But doesn't it strike you as strange that Zero would shut my mouth but not hers? Yes, yeah, it does seem a little weird. To be on the safe side, however, I told her it was best not to tell anyone. Still, apparently she told you. That girl. What's wrong with her telling me? I figured some stuff out with the things she told me. I mean, it looks like the whole activator detonator thing was just a bluff. She's prancing around downstairs happy as a clam now that you're back. Snake glanced down at Clover and Seven, examining one of the bookshelves. It's very true. I've decided I can trust you. I've decided to tell you the truth. The chance that Santa is 0 is very high. I feel I can assume Santa doesn't have the time to observe us at the moment, and at any rate, even if he were, I very much doubt he would kill us. Why not? Clover told me about the 4-leaf clover, about the words. If he knew about that, then he was in my group during the first experiment. I'm sure of it. He wouldn't kill us, no matter what the situation was. Snake paused and cocked his... Narrator voice, sorry. Snake paused and cocked his head as though he were listening to something very far away. His face looked dark, as though something was weighing on him. Hey, Snake. Junpei wasn't quite sure what to say. Snake turned and looked at him. Yes, I know. You want to know what happened during the experiment. Yeah. How much do you know? Junpei relayed to Snake everything Clover had told him. The morphogenetic field and the experiment 9 years prior that had dealt with it. Fuck. Now the experiment had taken place simultaneously at two places, one being the ship and the other being a building in Nevada. How they played the nonary game. He told him everything. And finally, he told him how a girl had died during the experiment. Oh, she told you all that, did she? Snake looked down. His face was tight. A slight tremor shook his body, and he tried to hide it. He was putting on a good front, but even Junpei could tell that he was holding back something deep and powerful. He made as if to brush something with his face, and looked up at Junpei. At any rate, I now know how much you've learned. All that remains for us to determine is who did this and why, right? Yes. Can you tell me what happened? Snake nodded slowly. The people who organized the initial experiment were from a company called Cradle Pharmaceutical. There were 4 of them running the show. Gentaro Hongo, Nagisa Nijisaki, Teruaki Kubota, Takachika Musashido. Hongo was the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceutical. Nijisaki was her right-hand man and did the lion's share of the planning. Kubota led the company's research and development division. Musashido was the majority stockholder. It was these 4 people who planned the initial experiment. Let me simplify it for you. Hongo designed it, and Nijisaki put it all together. Kubota developed the technology required, and Musashido provided the cash. So it's Hongo, Nijisaki, Kubota, Musashido. Junpei couldn't shake the sense they had heard those 4 names somewhere before. Of course, it's more than 4 people were required to conduct an experiment of this scale. To that end, they organized a top-secret team to assist them with their research. All in all, they gathered 10 people or so. Those 10 completed their team, and they were able to begin the project. They named it the Nonary Project. The purpose of the experiment was to research the prospect of controlling a human mind through sheer will. The vessel, I suppose you could say, for this control was the morphogenetic field. Why did the glycerin suddenly begin to crystallize? Why did the crystal structure of EET undergo a sudden change? Why did the rats improve their puzzle-solving skills with each generation? Experiments with humans produced the same results. The more people who knew the answer to a question, the more people there were who could answer correctly without having seen the problem before. Why? How? The answer is that the shape of the answer has been stored in a field invisible to the naked eye, and through that field, the resonant event transmits information related to that answer. That's essentially the idea behind morphogenetic fields. But that's just a theory. Can't bring yourself to believe it? Not really. Let's say someone killed another person because the devil told them to do it. Whether the devil exists or not has no relevance to the murder. They believe the devil exists. Whether or not he does is immaterial. So what matters here is that Hongo believed in the morphogenetic field. Snake nodded. But I still don't get it. You said they wanted to figure out how to control people. Right? That's what you're saying? Yes. So how are they going to do that with the morphogenetic field? I'll keep it simple. Let's suppose 10,000 people have solved a certain problem. The chance of you knowing that answer, even if no one has told you, will go up. Let's have another example, shall we? Say 1 million people were to do a handstand right now. Tomorrow, the chances of you doing a handstand would be higher, even if you'd heard nothing of this hypothetical mass handstanding. Mankind's thought process and actions are all part of a resonant event. All of the resonance events encoded in the field are projected to you. Of course, this assumes you believe in this theory. Do you follow so far? Yeah. But let's say, hypothetically, that there was a person who had the same effects as those millions of people. What would happen? If that one person were to do a handstand, other people would find themselves wanting to do a handstand as well. Can you imagine what a person with powers like that would be able to do? Come on, there's no way. I'm not done. Imagine another scenario. Imagine another person. This is an ordinary person. Let's say he does a handstand. What if there was someone who could grab the resonant event he created by doing that and use it to make other people do handstands? What would happen then? A person who has the power to write to the field, and someone who can read from the same, you could think of them as the writer and reader, or the transmitter and the receiver. What would the world be like if there were people with abilities like these? Junpei thought about it for a moment. So the transmitter's resonance can be transmitted through the field and sent to the receiver. And then the transmitter can control the receiver however they wish. And that's what you're saying, right? Yes. Close enough, at least. Come on, that's just crazy. Well, if you want to prove that, then you'll have to test it first. At least that was how they thought. That was why they decided to do their experiment. That was how the Nonary project began. Snake suddenly looked very serious. Junpei, have you ever heard of the Gansfield experiment? Junpei nodded. Yeah, that was an experiment in telepathy, right? They put a pair of subjects in separate rooms. Then they showed one of them a picture and asked the other what they saw. Interesting. I'm impressed. Yes, that is exactly correct. So, why do you bring up the Gansfeld experiment? It was used to screen subjects for the Nonary project. The hospital in a remote town was affiliated with Cradle Pharmaceutical. Hongo used it to conduct experiments on visiting children in secret. Some of them, he found, had potential. He began to gather children that showed promise. Children that seemed as though they might be able to access the field. Of course, none of them volunteered. They were kidnapped. His face barely moved as he spoke. There were 9 pairs of siblings taken, for 18 children in total. For reasons that were not fully understood at the time, each pair had 1 transmitter and 1 receiver. They were split perfectly. As such, the 18 children were split into two groups of 9. The children who were put in group Q, I think, or L, were the ones who excelled at transmitting. They were transferred to the mock experiment building known as Building Q in the Nevada desert. The children who excelled at receiving were put in Group A. The members of Group A were placed on the former hospital ship Gigantic. Yeah, Q and A makes sense. Question, answer. From the experiments he had conducted so far, Hongo had learned the following. There are 2 things that can increase one's resonance with the fields. The first is epiphany, the other is danger. Have you ever been faced with an especially difficult problem and thought about it very, very long and very hard until finally an answer suddenly appeared in your mind? It may seem obvious to say so, but that is what is meant by epiphany. The information obtained through that epiphany can be easily transmitted through the fields, where it can be easily interpreted. Adding danger to that equation allows for even easier field access. Therefore, Hongo set up a number of puzzles across the Gigantic. The participants had to solve each puzzle before they could move through to the next room. Of course, he hadn't forgotten to include danger. More specifically, he had detonated a bomb on the hull of the Gigantic. The children in Group A were forced to play the Nonary game as the ship sunk. By forcing the children into a life-or-death situation, Hongo hoped to increase the likelihood of their tapping into the fields. The children from Group Q, on the other hand, were confined to the mock experiment Building Q. Building Q duplicated the interior and the puzzles of the Gigantic exactly. Hongo explained the situation to the children in Group Q. Solve the puzzles you find throughout the rooms. When you solve them, transmit that information to the children in Group A. If you succeed, They will be able to solve the puzzles and escape. But if you fail, then the Gigantic will sink, and your brothers and sisters will drown. Do you know why the astronauts of Apollo 13 were able to return to Earth safely? It was because NASA had access to a replica of the Apollo 13 capsule. All of the equipment, the instruments, everything. All of it identical. NASA was able to replicate the situation the astronauts were facing. By putting themselves in the same situation, they attempted to solve the problems they knew the astronauts were experiencing. Once they had found solutions, they reported their findings to the men aboard the actual capsule. That was how they were able to return safely. It was the same with the Gigantic and Building Q. The children from Group Q had used the power of Epiphany to solve the puzzles they found, and transmit what they learned through the fields. The children in Group A, however, had to access the fields to learn how they might advance to the next stage. That is the simplest explanation I can manage. Snake sounded defeated. His half-hearted attempt at derision served only to show how much of the story had affected him. Just as Junpei was about to speak... "Hey, Junpei, Snake! How much longer are you two gonna sit around on those bony asses? Get down here already!" Someone's voice echoed up from below. Snake took a deep breath and blinked rapidly, as if just waking from a long nap. "He's right. Let's go, shall we? We don't have much time. We need to get out of here, and soon." Snake headed for the stairs, but Junpei put out an arm to stop him. "Hold it. There's one more thing I want to ask you." "Are you sure that there were 18 kids?" "Why?" "Well, I thought it was only 16. "Oh, yes, that's what they said on the news, wasn't it?" "Yes, I have no doubts that 18 children were abducted and used as in Hongo's experiment. After all, you couldn't exactly play a nonary game with any less, could you?" "Well, yeah, but are you saying that the news got it wrong?" "Yes, I am. There were 2 more children. However, they had no relatives that I'm aware of. I imagine no one filed a police report when they went missing. They were brother and sister, like Clover and I. The brother's name was Aoi. The sister's name was... Her name was... Snake couldn't seem to bring himself to continue. It looked as if what he was about to say brought him great pain. Her name was Akane. That was the girl who died. Junpei felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. His vision went blurry, and his head felt light. He couldn't think straight. Everything was blank. Had Akane Kurashiki died 9 years ago? If she had, then who was June? No, that was impossible. It couldn't be true. Akane wasn't an uncommon name. If Snake had known her last name, then that would have been a different matter entirely. So they shared a name. There were many other people who did as well. It meant nothing. It was a different person. Of course it was a different person. It had to be. Junpei shook his head hard and pulled himself back to reality. "Is something wrong, Junpei? Your breathing sounds strange." Then Snake had noticed. Junpei cleared his throat and tried to act calm. "Oh, no, it's nothing. I'm fine. Let's get back down there, all right?" Snake raised an eyebrow but said nothing. He headed down the stairs, Junpei bringing up the rear. He couldn't bring himself to ask. He told himself he knew the answer already, but he couldn't bring himself to ask what the girl's last name had been. With every step he took, the cold, hard sound of feet against the metal dug at his heart. I could have said that more dramatically, that last part, but oh well. Sheldrake 5. Sheldrake. This is it. This is what the shadow picture was pointing to. But didn't it say 5 at the end of the shadow picture? Yes, I think we need to find the 5th volume. Well, would you look at that? There's a big red button behind this book. I guess we should press the button. Oh! Well then. Huh. What was that sound? It sounded like something really big was moving. It came from the top floor. Alright, let's go check it out. Alright, this handle's gonna open the door for me. Man, doesn't matter how hard we pull, this thing ain't moving anywhere. Looks like it's probably locked. How about this one? It's a thick metal door, there's a handle in the middle of it though. Come on, door, open! Shouting noises. Nothing. Might as well try to open a wall. I know you're feeling kind of rushed, but you do realize that's pointless, don't you? It's not going to get you anywhere. There's only one thing we can do. Let's go. Well, I bet you gotta type something on that keyboard. Yeah, but you can only enter letters. And it looks like you can only enter 4 letters. Let's see how it works. I guess you need to hit enter once you type in the letters. You can erase what you typed with clear. Okay, I get the basic operations. Let's give it a shot. Okay. X, I. So then... X... D... E... A... D. Dead. Because if you turn it into hexadecimal, I believe it's that. D-E-A-D. Enter. Spacebar. Yes! I am a smart. Yay! You did it, Junpei! It's unlocked now. Good job, Junpei. Whoa there, don't get too excited. The password was dead, remember? Just makes me think whatever's waiting for us isn't good. So what? Jeez, you're such an old lady. We can't be worrying about stuff like that. I mean, come on, we got it to unlock, didn't we? Let's go, hurry up. Which one's unlocked, though? Alright, Handle. It's time we got this over with. Damn it! I can't get it open. This thing won't even budge. What? Why not? We put in the password. What else do we have to do? Then that means it's the other door. Alright, let's get this thing open. You found it. I've been playing this game like all day. Alright. Anyway. Well, after work anyway. So, next time, we get to the final fucking room of the game, I think. Because each one is 2 parts. Till then, peace motherfucking out. Ha! Yes, I censored myself for no reason. I know I don't normally. So to correct myself, fuck. Now, peace.